Hey, everyone. Hello, it's Isaya. Welcome. So let me get rid of anything that we don't need. Welcome. This is Things Women Don't Talk About. The special series of my podcast is Isaya's Inspiring Evenings. And this is, you remember maybe, because now it's been, I think this is episode 8. We've got guests. Hey, Trudy. This is the series where I talk to people, rather to women, about things we don't talk about. And tonight my guest is Ailish Keating, who I will introduce very shortly. But let me remind you what this kind of subject of podcast is first. So I'm Isaya from isayabell.com. I'm a traveling priestess. I am so many things. But for tonight, I am a podcast host. And I'm hosting this series that are conversations with a guest around topics that are either not discussed because they are difficult or they're not serious enough. So, whether they're too sacred or too dark, or whether they're too silly and too mundane, nothing is a taboo or off the table. So, tonight with Ailish, we will be discussing why is inner harmony so important. Now, before so hi Ailish, I'm gonna allow you to to make your voice heard before I read your bio.
Hey there. Hi, Isabella. Thank you.
So Ailish is a trained in RTT, hypnotherapy, access bars, yoga, and meditation. She has developed a proprietary, I'm sorry about my English tonight, a proprietary technique, emotional alchemy, which allows her client to process high levels of emotions and trauma, achieving powerful results in a short amount of time. And she is now on a mission to help create a world where people are fully connected to their souls. So together we all become conscious co creators and build a better world. Well, that's a big mission, darling. But the cool thing is that we can do that together.
Yeah.
So, the subject that we said that we were going to discuss tonight is inner harmony, and it's about why and how the most spiritual aspects of ourselves are sometimes um, supposed or socially more acceptable, supposed to be of higher value than the mundane, and why we disagree about this separation and what is, by the way, mundane and what is, by the way, spiritual, what is masculine and feminine, basically what is harmony about and why should we look for it. And I believe that it is a very crucial topic to discuss in this podcast because it is something we don't talk about in that way. There's so often we behave in the world as if everything was separated. There's right and wrong, white and black. There's a lot of that is based on Christian theology and Christian religion, but you know, good and evil, etc., etc. And it seems that we agree here, Eilish, but you're going to tell me that it's not an either or situation.
Right. Yeah, it's not. It's so where do we start? It's a wonderful conversation, and I'm glad that we're having it too, Asa. So we'll go back and forth, I guess, and see what the thing is. So right. So it's so easy for us to say, okay, I'm not this or I'm not that, or it's not this or it's not that. But in truth, we really need to actually get big enough ourselves to be able to encompass everything. So accept everything or allow everything, not necessarily accept it, but allow it and understand it and become compassionate in that. Doesn't mean we become inactive, but we become compassionate and we become deeper and we become more congruent and we just really expand our capacity to know and perceive and understand in the process.
Yeah, I believe as spiritual people, there is the more we talk and act in a way to separate, the less we are, the more our energy goes down, basically.
Right.
Because any separation from, I'm not going to go into the are everything, but yes, we are. I am the universe. So if I try to separate the good and the bad parts of the universe, obviously I'm going to bring myself down.
Right, right. And if you go back to divinity, divinity is everything at the beginning and the end of the day. If everything soars from in the beginning, or whatever point of wherever we want to say that began, I don't know where it began, but wherever it began, right, everything soars from one point. So in on some level, when when we can get to, which is I'd say maybe it's possible or not possible to get there or not as a, but that concept, right? It's not completely off the field to consider that it might be such. Like if everything came from one point in at some point in time, whenever that was, wherever that
Yeah,
was, then it's all sourcing from one thing, right? So it's kind of,
yeah.
so it's not that controversial. It's not just a
No,
common,
no, it's not. It's not so much controversial as it is frowned upon,
right,
because there's so many people that will look at I want to be on the good side, so I want to do everything right. I want to meditate every day, um and I'm not this person who, I don't know, eats McDonald's once in a while, or
right.
watches TV shows, or whatever we consider to be mundane. But then I believe that the at every instant we have, since, like you were saying, if we're the two things, or more than two actually, um the if there's a separation there, it's just in our heads. Because in fact,
Mhm.
if we contain everything, if I am the absolute blackest color, I contain the
Right,
absolute whitest color. The exact
right.
opposite is in me as well.
Right, right. Yeah, and going from one to the other is just really the absence of love, right? It's the adding of love and the absence of love will bring one from the other. So they say, that's just, it's along the spectrum. But going to the thing, just what popped into my mind, the first place we start off with stuff where we're not accepting is rejecting ourselves, right? Quite often that's the first
Yeah,
place that we start off, and from our inner, our inner sanctum, our inner connection to everything, is everything's inside us, right? We don't experience the world outside of us. If I close my eyes, the world all exists inside my head. If I die, my version of the world dies with me. My particular thing. So it's all starts inside us. And the first place that we start off, where we start getting some discordance, where we come to this inner harmony conversation, is if we're rejecting of ourselves, right?
yeah,
And from there, right, so from there we'll go, let's talk about maybe the container that we are for a second, right? So we have our body, and we have what these the energy centers, right? Most people are probably familiar with the chakras, right? So we have the one from the, just say from the first to the seventh, from the root all the way up to the crown. So it's easy for us to get into a place of either rejection or judgment about even aspects of ourselves,
yeah,
without even going outside to anyone. And it's also very easy, if we reject somebody outside, if we're judging somebody outside, we're also judging part of ourselves. So we're like, it becomes this, reflects back to us anyway. And when we do that, it keeps us separate, and we get back to that point of separateness that we were talking about just a few moments ago. We get ourselves separate from everything. So how does it look, right? So if you
yeah,
start off, you start off by rejecting yourself and by not accepting it. So that can, for most of us, it is the unloved parts of ourselves, the parts that we have turned our back from, the part that we really don't want to see, the hurt that we really feel we can't get past, the pain that we really fear that we can't show to the light. You know what I mean? To just to bring it
yeah.
out.
The ugly sides,
All of these
the
things,
supposed ugly
the
sides.
supposed ugly
Yeah,
sides, right? All of these things, right? So we reject ourselves. We reject these things. We don't even have to plan on accepting the whole world yet. We'll just start, like, even with our own ugly sides. That's the part of us that needs the most compassion and the most love. The parts of us that are the most unlovable parts of us need the most love.
yeah,
Right. And what happens is that when we have these things, they become like little houses in us, or little pockets that are kind of our little personalities that are all locked away. And each one of those then has probably a discordant frequency, right? So if we, most of these, say, the wound based, trauma based, pain body, anything that kind of has a sting to it as we
mhm,
touch it, that's our pain body active, right? So anything that, most of our pain body things are stored in the lower three energy centers, because they are more connected to the physical world, the third dimensional world, like the world of things that we live in. So the lower three centers are most connected to this world. They're only lower, and
Yeah.
we've talked about this
Hmm.
before, because they're lower to the ground. Not that they're
Yeah.
lower in priority,
In any value. Yeah.
not or lower
Yeah.
in value or lower in significance. Actually, they're very highly significant because we live and breathe and work and operate in the world.
Yeah,
We're
I,
still
I, I believe I'm part of the people who believe that we are incarnated souls. So that means that our souls actually chose to come on this earth in a body.
right.
So as long as we're here, first of all, it's the product of a choice, and second, it means that we are incarnated, which again comes from the Latin word carne, which means meat. So
Okay.
yeah, we literally are
Indeed.
meat, a piece of meat. Yeah, carne.
Very
So
attractive.
incarnated, yes, literally, we are a piece of meat. So we are an animal, a body first, or at least
Right.
at this minute, not first, but we chose to incarnate. And
Or
that
maybe an
means that,
animated soul, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But out of the choice of becoming an angel for this lifetime, we chose to become a human,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and the human is walking in a body that needs to be not flying. So it needs the lower chakras also to ground itself, to get some and to communicate an energy with the earth back and forth,
Right.
detox and get the unconditional love from the earth. At least that's my belief. And again, the categorizing of the chakras again goes towards separation and not harmony.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's that rejection. Like if we believe
Mhm.
that, it back to that same thing. So it's like, how can we accept everything if we reject ourselves?
Bits of
Yeah.
ourselves. Yeah.
But another,
Trudy's saying, sorry, I want to read this comment if that's all right, because I
yeah.
think it's really interesting. She says, separating from ourselves has been such a long conditioning. It feels actually new to come back to our original sense of self.
Oh, 100%.
Uh, and and yeah, it is because it's been, yeah, it's been really frowned upon, and even more to embrace the whole of who you are. It's either egotistic or shows too much pride, or or
Right.
even is evil for
Yeah.
some beliefs.
Right. And then the other side of it too, as well, is then also to value the fact that you are a
Mhm.
soul incarnate in a body. So you don't go around and spilling your energy out everywhere, not valuing as a like as an important temple that the body is, so that you kind of you hold your energy to yourself. You don't eat that, you're protective of your energy. You respect your field and you respect
Oh,
other people too as well. Did we lose you? Did I lose me? Okay, I don't know if it's me or you.
guys,
I'm back.
well,
Oh,
yeah, okay, I'm back too, it seems.
okay.
That will happen. I live in the middle of nowhere, France, and you live in the middle of nowhere, Ireland. So,
Yeah.
it might happen. Sorry about
Well,
that.
we're
You
saying
were saying,
important things that will happen.
yeah, we're breaking the internet. That's normal. So go again, repeat it. We won't break it twice.
Yeah, sorry. So I can't remember what I was saying now, but anyway, it'll come back to me. It's important.
Yeah, no, about again the separation that we kind of entertain almost,
Oh yeah.
we
No,
play with
yes.
it. We
Right. So our energy is important. So it actually becomes important if people are having, you know, who you have sexual relationships with, who you
Yeah,
are in, who you're having in your space, who you're letting in your field, is all very, very important. It's not to, if you value your energy as a soul who has made it here on this earth at this time,
yeah,
that's an important field to hold.
yeah,
And sometimes people don't often value that in and of themselves as much. Also,
yeah. And if I may, what is really interesting is that the answer that some of us seem to have found is, okay, I will not exchange energy with anyone. So I become a monk, or, kind of,
yeah,
I will just close the things and just elevate to talk only to God, basically.
right.
And this is, it is a way,
It
but it
absolutely
can't be everybody's way.
No, not at all. So that gets us to so it can happen a few different ways, right? So when the person is the individual by yourself, when you can get to, so we'll go back to we'll talk about the left and the right balancing. So this inner harmony, right? So the idea of harmony is really so that all of the energy centers up and down the body are open and flowing and balanced.
Yeah,
Okay? Our left side being our female side, our right side being our masculine side, so that we have a balance between our left side and our right side, male and female. When our left and right side are balanced energetically, when we're drawing from both the action and both the perspective, both the intellect and both the intuition, both the whatever is one to the other. So when these things are harmonized from the left and the right side of the body, and when we're in balance all the way coming up and down through our body. So all of our, we've is essentially each equal love and acceptance the whole way through our field, might be the easiest way to describe it. Then we create this inner harmony and balance, which can also be achieved. It's called Heroes Gammas, but it can also be achieved in a relationship when you're in a relationship with somebody. So you
yeah,
have the masculine and feminine. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be just a masculine male and a female partner, but it's somebody who's holding the
yeah,
polarity of the plus
yeah.
and the
Mhm.
minus, the masculine and the female, right? So it's holding those two things. When that is in balance, when it's truly harmonious and blessed, we'll call it, for one of a better word, then that creates another energy all and of itself, and it becomes this even stronger field of
Yeah,
energy to work in, and it can be a very, very beautiful thing to
absolutely.
witness when we do witness it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be part of, if I may, because I've I've been lucky
Yeah,
enough to experiment
good.
with that at some point in my life. But yeah, absolutely. The you said how you gave it a name, but
It's
I
called
didn't catch it.
Heros Gammus, and it's
Okay.
sacred. It's sacred union. So it's and this
Yeah,
isn't
in
this work.
Greek, just so you know,
Okay,
in Greek,
okay,
and
perfect.
in
Yeah,
Greek we
no,
would pronounce it hieros gamos.
okay,
But
perfect. Okay, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert on this, but the concept and the idea is that when there is this inner harmony, right? So when you balance the left and right fields of the energetically in the body, and also when our whole vessel is clear. So that means somebody, ideally you've done the work to release a lot of what we call the shadow work, right? So you have
yeah,
gone and you have cleared and done your best to release any disharmonious energy, any fears, any shock, any sorrow, any anger, any rage, you're trying to get to this neutrality
shame.
point. When you do that, then you allow for more of your soul energy actually is able to ground itself in the body, and then you become more conscious. Just as a
Hmm.
result of, you become a clearer channel, you become more open, more
Yeah,
clear, more grounded.
yeah. I just want to, because I'm Greek, I'm going to go and translate Ieros Gamos.
Oh, please do.
It literally means the holy marriage.
Oh, okay.
So it is a marriage, but it doesn't have to be with another one. It can be with yourself to start with.
Right.
And it's a, yeah, holy or blessed marriage. So literally the harmony is found by marrying, kind of, bonding together
Right.
our two uh, different aspects or sides or everything. And you didn't mention at some point the two different aspects, let's say the masculine and the feminine. Um, and I wanted to point out that it also goes for the left brain and the right brain. So the logical brain and the creative brain, or the intuitive brain.
Absolutely.
And again, there is such a big importance in our society onto the left brain and all the rational thinking and the coherent and rational logical thinking, which means that any other type of thinking is very often frowned upon and judged, even by inside. I judge myself for being fluffy, intuitive, crazy, blah blah blah. You can't believe in that, Isaiah. Come on, because I don't know about you, but I have a very very active inner voice. Not always nice, but so and I think there's so many of us, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
there is so much, like TJ is saying, so much I can't pronounce that, compartmentalizing and multitasking at the same time, which means we have to um, uh, dedicate to so many things and be so many things for so many people that we kind of never go to the place where we can go inside and yeah, kind of just
And
let
source,
it
yeah, source
sink.
from
Yeah.
within. Yeah.
And I also wanted to say, because you mentioned shadow work, and for me that's one of the points where I'm really getting very annoyed these days sometimes on the internet. Shadow work or working on your stuff does not mean talking about it.
Right.
It can be,
Yeah.
it can be journaling, it can be talking about that with a shrink, a coach, or whoever, or with your best friend, but it doesn't have to be. Sometimes the work can be done energetically, or it can be done intuitively, or it can be done in a way that completely bypasses the left brain.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Again,
you mean, so when you say talking about it, you mean in therapy talking about it, or you mean
yeah.
like I'm going to share on the internet, like what my,
Oh
or,
no, I meant talking about seriously, like with a therapist
okay.
or with a coach, or and I think that up to a certain extent, again, it's using only one canal
Yeah.
to deal with the thing, and it's negating the right brain, the intuitive part of ourselves, and the energetic, the vibration part of ourselves, and we try to kind of solve a problem that it might not be a problem, but a disharmony, let's call it this way, with the help of words and logic and reason, and sometimes it's just impossible.
Right.
And then we keep doing it.
Yeah.
You kind of insist. It's like you were trying to um, break a wall with some cotton wool, and it
Mhm.
doesn't work, obviously, but you'll try again and again and again up until you decide that you have to change tools, right? and
Yeah.
and the harmony starts even there. Starts, how do I heal myself? I start to change the way I heal myself.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, and a lot of traumas and stuff, you see, so the talk therapy is probably very good for mindset stuff, because the mind is more analytic, right? But a lot of trauma is emotion based. So words
Yeah,
don't necessarily get to it, right? And
yeah,
that's the issue. So quite often you're trying to solve something with the wrong tool.
yeah,
And it's just not the right tool
exactly.
for the job. So it takes a lot longer because it's not the right tool.
Yeah, and again, it's disharmonious because
Yeah.
it's kind of trying to, it's separating problems or issues that we have into the the solvable ones with the brain. So logically, okay, this is what I should be doing. I'm
Mhm.
feeling unhappy about this or that. Okay, I should change. Yeah, sure, sure, but it doesn't happen.
Right.
Because it can't be always the product of a decision. It's not a
Right.
mind thing.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not. So it's not part of the mental. It's not a mental body issue. It's an emotional body. So we have like
Yeah.
all these different bodies. We've got the pain
And
body.
again, we it's about harmonizing the emotions with the mind, and the mind with the body, and the body with the soul. It's kind of stop kind of cutting us ourselves into pieces
Hmm.
and trying to fix one piece after another. Kind of,
Yeah.
okay, I'll deal with my emotions, then I'll deal with it. No, you can't. It's just like, it has to be, and I don't like this word, but I'm going to use it. It has to be holistic if
Right.
we're looking for harmony,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. It does, and it can be really, really like effective when you get the right. It doesn't have to take a long time. I mean, it can take a long time, but it doesn't have to. I have this theory, and the more and more I think like when we come in, we're often trying to clear, be it we call it either generational stuff, or if you ever believe in past lives, either one of those things. So I think when we come in, we say, okay, give it to me early so I can get over and done with quickly, and then I'll move on. I'll get on with whatever else I want to do. But what happens is when we come in here, we don't have any recollection or knowledge of what the setup is, right? And so then when all of this stuff lands, quite often it can be an awful lot early for somebody in life, and they don't have the right tools, or the adults in the room don't also have the right tools to help process these things. So then they're carried until they can be addressed at a later point. And then the world will just continually give us these opportunities to look at these issues and says, okay, well, can we look at it now? Look, here it is again. You've moved houses, but you've got the same neighbors.
Yeah,
You're going out with the same guy or the same girl again. It's going like, can we heal this now? Like, is now a good time to do it? What we end up doing is, if we don't have the right tools, is we go back into these loops. Then we're like, oh man,
yeah.
this stuff, repeats. But
Yeah,
the reason it's repeating,
I'm gonna go with a very simple example. My parents were hippies, so I used to move around a lot as a child.
mhm,
Roughly every 5 years maximum, we would move. And move, I mean like cross country move, even cross
right,
countries move. So when I grew up, I did that exactly same thing. I kept doing that. And when I arrived here, after roughly 5 years, I started thinking, I'm unhappy, we need to move. And I decided, I had a flash of inspiration that said, hey, maybe not. Maybe it's not about something going somewhere else. Maybe it's about staying here and dealing with the crap right now. And it was like, it changed my life literally to not,
Mhm.
because I every time it took me roughly 5 years in the new location for the shit
Mhm.
to reappear, because it's new,
Yeah.
everything is new, the trees are new, maybe the relationships, maybe the house, maybe. So this time I was done with all this newness, and so I had to face the crap,
Mhm.
and it became really interesting, actually,
Right.
instead of fleeing, kind of. So yeah.
That must have
uh,
given an amazing, like, an amazing once you have that awareness and then you're ready to do it, then everything that shows up is kind of interesting. It's like, "Oh, okay,
yeah,
this is no longer a bad thing." It's like, "Oh,
yeah.
it's an opportunity
Yeah,
to
yeah.
move
Well,
beyond it."
that was the first, I think, part of my life or moment of my life where I realized that everything is happening for me.
Mm, yeah. Yeah,
And then,
100%.
yeah, then everything becomes interesting. Yeah. But yeah, we have a question, so I'm going to ask the question. TJ is asking whether, what are our thoughts, or your thoughts rather, about RTT for this kind of work.
I think
So,
RTT is an excellent tool for this type of work, um, because it goes in and it works with the subconscious, and the
hmm,
subconscious has the memory of everything, right? So if we
yeah,
but does it work it can work for everything, and it can work for everyone. Sometimes also, though, you need the right combination of issue,
yeah, of course.
therapist,
I'm ready for
and, it needs the right
yeah, and
combination.
time and magic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So it should, in
yeah,
theory, yes, it should. It should be able to work because
yeah,
it works in the subconscious. Um,
yeah. Again, you if you hit a brick wall with cotton wool for 5,000 years in a row, it will be
yeah,
effective. The thing is, for there are so many tools. I think that the important place is where we can find ourselves, uh, in a place where the therapist, the tool, ourselves, the timing, everything is correct, and then it can be really fast
yeah,
and really
absolutely.
effective.
I find it really good. I would say it's probably really, really good for patterns, right? So if you're trying to address or break patterns, let's say you have this tendency to, and it's a repeat XYZ scenario, like particularly smoking, drinking, or whatever, repetitive ingrained
Hmm.
patterns. So it will be very good at breaking the tendency to it, and then you've got to relearn new habits to replace these other
Hmm.
tendencies. So it
Yeah.
can remove,
Hmm.
say, the stimulant that might cause you to want to do that,
Yeah,
whatever
the
that
trigger or
thing is,
whatever.
right?
Mm,
Yeah, and
yeah.
then you've got to work, and then often you'll have a hypnotic recording from it, which will help the mind create the new. So the
Yeah.
mind is the architect, and the emotions are the fuel, right? So when the emotions are the
Oh,
energy, so
that's a
it's kind of
beautiful way
the flavor.
to put it. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's right.
Yeah.
So it's, and words are architects really, also as well, like their structures, almost like big. They're almost like bricks, right?
Hmm.
But so it works for a lot of things. One of the things, and I'm not, and that one of the reasons I came up with the emotional alchemy stuff was I found that there was emotions that I wasn't able to get to um, properly or completely. They're hard to. They can be quite buried, and they're stacked. So that I found was really, really good for that work. So maybe I don't even want to say left side, right side work, but potentially I'd have to. I mean, I'm just making that up as I say it, but I think one is they probably together they work really, really well.
Again, it's about harmony. So it's about everything together and not separating. And yeah, for I guess at each moment of a journey to becoming whole, um,
Right,
we use different tools,
right.
and we meet different people also that help us to deal with this or that issue.
Yeah, and it's like people often say, "What is it about children that will bring up issues for it?" The children are sensitive to the energy that is in the field. So whatever is active in our field, things will come along to let us know, "Hey, you've got this active in your field. You've got this thing going on." So when we see it coming towards us, it's not necessarily negative per se. Well, it's not bad, I should say. It might be a negative experience. It doesn't say it's a
Yeah.
bad experience. It's just showing us,
Hmm.
okay, you've got this thing active in your field still. Because when it's not active in your field anymore, that'll go away. So then, okay, what can I do to clear it would be the next
Yeah.
question.
Well, I'm gonna again give it a perfect example so that people understand. So when I decided not to move, I actually had a 6 or 7 months old baby, and part of the reason why I was freaking out is because I was unloading onto him so much. Kind of, I was expecting him to be the source of my tenderness and love and cuddle and hugs, and I thought this is a person. It's not a doll for me to play or a pet, you know. And it really hit me. It was my second baby, just so you know. I already did very much harm for the first one. But no, he's fine. We overcame, the whole of us. But basically, what I mean to say is that exactly it's because of my child that I came to realize that something was disharmonious and painful in my life, that I was lacking some part of myself, and
Mhm.
that basically was self love.
Right. Yeah.
I was not giving it to myself. So the fact that I, first of all, refused to move and just faced, literally had the thing here, and but it was all raised by the child. So indeed, I guess he must have felt it so much. I
Yeah.
believe that he came to the world to teach me, basically.
Yeah. 100%. I think
This little boy.
children are like, I call them like the bottle brush. They get to that hard to reach place deep inside you that you think you have, you think you got it
That's a
sussed out.
beautiful.
And they're like, really, you think you're that clean? Okay, let me just show you what you've got, what you have yet
Yeah.
to unpack. It's a wonderful
No,
thing.
that's a very, very vivid image in my head now of a child doing that.
Right? It makes sense though. At least that's my experience.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. But it's so interesting that there has been so much um, shame and yeah, shame. I don't think there's any other word that would do on the idea of harmony, inside harmony, of being complete on and by oneself.
Right.
I cannot help but think that there has been that it's brainwashing, that it serves a purpose
Yeah.
for generations and generations. It serves a purpose to have people who are incomplete and happy and harmonious. Um, and that's even a bigger reason for us to fight for harmony and
No,
to
absolutely.
work on
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So just right now, so we're moving into the Aquarian age, right? So the age of Aquarius, and
Hmm.
it's really we're meant to be transitioning. So our heart center, right, which is right in the middle of our body, right? It's the center left to right and the center top to bottom. So the heart center is this kind of neutral zone where we can get into a place of loving compassion and compassionate witness, of non-judgment. It's a central path, but the heart is like the has the capacity to love is endless. It doesn't mean say putting up with stuff you shouldn't be putting up with, but the capacity to just express and love for self and for others is huge. So like when the world gets to a point where that becomes a the most active center in each individual, who knows what's possible for the world? I don't think we
Hmm.
have any idea what's possible in the world in general. You know,
Yeah, and of course
um,
I'm going to point out, just so if no one, if someone of the listeners did not see it in their visual mind, that what you are describing is literally a cross. We are a cross, and the
right,
heart is at the center of the cross. So it's both the left and the right, and the up and the down that are connecting there, and that, I guess, is what brings so much strength to the heart zone,
mhm,
and so much energy, basically,
right.
because it both collects and distributes all over.
Right, and yeah, and it like the and its supply of love energy is like is endless. Like there's no, it's boundless sort of thing. So you can imagine. So the more and more that we become balanced internally, and just back to what you were saying there, yeah. So what like this idea of shame, of not of encouraging non-acceptance, of encouraging judgment, of encouraging reactions rather than responses. Yeah, absolutely. If people are stressed out, burnt out, fear, worried, angry, which they were very disorganized for
Yeah.
starters, and very, 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 very preoccupied, very not present, because you're dealing with crisis all the time, and
Yeah.
very less aware, because you're always
Mm,
going to be in a crisis mode, in a
I-
fight or flight.
yeah. And if I go into onto my anti-capitalist thing, very much in a state where you're ready to buy anything that will promise to get you into a harmony.
Right, right.
So whether that be a cream for your face or a holiday in the Bahamas,
Sure.
whatever,
Yeah.
I'll get you happy by this.
Yeah.
So obviously, if we keep people, if people are in a state where yeah, of disharmony and then of separation in themselves, and they're not able to just be,
Hmm.
obviously they're also become very easy to sell
Absolutely.
either objects or even theories.
Right. Well, absolutely, because you're lacking, right? So you're trying to, that something's lacking,
Yeah,
and the lacking is the connection to yourself, to your soul, to your higher self. But you're looking
yeah,
for a
yeah,
solution, because some part of us somewhere knows that there is a higher. We see it sometimes in other people, and we're like, okay. And I'm not talking about necessarily somebody who is looks shiny and flashy, but it's a person who's really grounded and rooted. When you interact with somebody like that, I mean, I'd be very surprised if everybody notices when they do. It is that powerful,
yeah, yeah,
you know. So yeah, and then
yeah,
also with the so when we're all very much, I say, out of in disharmony, and the lower three centers particularly, then we buy into there's two sorts of economic systems. There's a consumptive model economic system, and there's the value model. So the consumptive model is that one that you were just talking about, that encourages people always to spend, to live beyond their means, to spend more than they have, always wanting more, trying to get ahead, and all of that. That's consumptive model. And it's depleting from an energetic perspective.
mhm, yeah,
So it takes more from you than it gives to you. Right. So it's kind of
yeah,
this bad deal. And then there's a value model, and that's like fair and equal exchange. So, which is what you do as when even in our conversations and stuff. And when you have fair and equal exchange, that means both people benefit mutually. And when that happens,
yeah,
then the sum of the whole is greater than the two together. So both receive,
yeah.
and you create that extra energy. It's almost like another hero's
And
gap.
again, this is yes, yeah, rasgamos, exactly. Because I remember when I studied tantra, I'm a tantrika, and I did kind of a lot of studies in that field. And indeed, it's exactly that. It's the more I give, the more I receive, and then we create kind of a third one, a third energy, a third thing that
Right.
happens. Um,
That's
yeah, and
fascinating.
it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to experiment with someone. It's absolutely amazing to experiment on yourself. It's like completely crazy the amount that
Yeah. Right.
I can separate just enough to have both energies circulating, so the masculine and the feminine, and to create kind of an eternal eight vertical one.
Right. The infinity loop,
So
right?
yeah, the in infinity loop inside yourself, and then it's literally. I know that I might be sounding completely crazy, but the whole thing, you can feel a third kind of a bubble of energy that creates from this figure eight. That is nothing to do with my aura or anything of the sort. It's just like it literally creates more. It's like, yeah, it's amazing,
Right.
and it feels great.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. No, no, absolutely.
I'm not saying that it's a state that you might be looking for to be in 24/7, but if you can try and experiment that, that's really fun.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, that sounds wonderful. But all in
Um,
actually, it can be quite tiring. Yeah, if people do try and be in some of these energies too much, it can be a little bit. It can be a little hard to.
yeah, again, the
Yeah,
the thing is that the energy loop, as we were saying, is not grounded.
yeah,
So at some point you have to get out of there and just put your feet on the ground and land,
yeah.
basically. Because again, we are not angels. We might desire it from time to time.
No, no, and I think our goal in coming here was to bring consciousness down to earth, not to try
Yeah,
and get off the earth, but to try and
yeah,
ground, become more conscious
I
while we're
agree.
here.
I agree, absolutely. Can we discuss one last thing before I kind of decide that it's over? At some point, TJ was mentioning empathy. And so the question of is it part of the harmonizing or the disharmonizing to kind of create boundaries from the aggressions of the world or from my own energy leaving me? What would you say that it's,
Yeah,
should
I
we
think.
do it or shouldn't we, basically?
Oh, yeah, no, I absolutely. I do think you need to ground and to have a clear definition of your energy and your energy field, because you don't want to, you know, I won't say bleed out continually, but like you want to, as you get stronger, I think somebody's energy field will increase and will increase and will increase. But for the time being, again, we don't want to interfere with other people's processes. We can always
Hmm.
send love to anything. Love is kind of like the universal antidote. You can send love to anything,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean to say that you have to take on board all of the pain and the hurt and the trauma internally, unless maybe that's your path to do so. But it's a lot
Hmm.
to do it. But I would say very much, I would say grounding, and having a clear boundary on your energy field becomes very important. And then with empathy, I think it's the idea of being a compassionate witnessing. So loving and understanding and having a compassion for a person who is going through whatever they've maybe chosen or otherwise to go through, and perhaps empathizing with them when you're in their field and in general, but it doesn't, but again, also knowing that they have choices also as well. It's one of the reasons I
Yeah.
practice Ho'oponopono, and I think you do too as
Hmm.
well, right? Because the whole idea behind it is that you hand it over. You're not
Yeah.
pretending that you're smart and you know everything. You actually realize you really don't know anything, which
Yeah.
is these answering from a soccer. So you hand it over, right? Because you don't know where our
Yeah.
responsibility begins and ends. But we do request for healing or for love or for compassion to help this situation,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe there is. I'm a swimmer. I was born close to the Mediterranean, and I swim a lot, any opportunity. So I know that when somebody's drowning, you don't drown with them, and
Right.
sometimes you have to be harsh, really harsh, even hit them to just make them. I'm going to save you, but let me.
Yeah.
So I believe that empathy without boundaries, without being very clear on, I need to protect myself. I would either bleed out or I would get completely invaded by other people's emotions.
Right.
And I believe it's similar to drowning, to trying to save someone and drowning oneself in the process,
Right.
basically.
Yeah, you have to protect your
It's
own your own inner child. Like you have to, it already has a lot going on. So
Yeah,
you put the right
exactly.
tools, and then you'll know what's
Exactly.
right, what the right response is.
Exactly. Yeah, amazing. Of course, it's 45 minutes in, and I'm going to cut this, but I could talk with you all day. Maybe we'll do another
We'll talk again
episode.
maybe sometime.
Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you very, very much. Trudy had a comment about kids that is very interesting, but we don't have time for everything. So maybe we'll do another episode again.
Sounds good.
So let me finish by saying two things. First of all, if you want to look up Ailish and know more about her, you will find all her details above the video or below if you're watching on YouTube. This podcast will land as soon as tomorrow on my podcast. So you'll find it on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast, everywhere, basically. And again, the Ailish's contacts will be everywhere as well.
Okay.
Her website is very simple, if I remember. It's Ailish. Just give me a minute. Ailish.com. So easy enough, no excuses. But I'll link everything everywhere. And, do check her out because she's not even started talking about the crazy stuff that she does in her life and in her business. I also want to mention that Ailish is one of the many speakers of the Women Lighting the Way Summit this year, 2023. And I'm really excited to start working with the speakers this year. It's going to be awesome, if I say so myself. I'm so happy that we're doing this for the third year, and I'm so happy that you're part of it. So if you want to know more about Ailish, you can also join the summit as an attendee and come to listen to her story. The registrations are not open yet, so don't panic, but they will open in 3 weeks to a month, and you will find Ailish amongst the amazing speakers. The other thing that I wanted to mention, because we were talking about that, is that I actually have a meditation to create the cross in you, basically, and do that. So you can find this meditation on my podcast as well and on Insight Timer. It's called the Connection Meditation. And you will find it all over my channel. I think it's on my YouTube channel as well. So you can go on and do this. I think it's 15 minutes or so, and it's literally connecting with so Gaia. Sorry, I'm talking Greek, obviously, and then connecting with Uranos, with Father Sky, and then collecting all this energy and creating the give thing. So yeah, I created this meditation during COVID because I felt that I was in a position where I could give, and so many people needed to receive. So, and I realized that if as we were saying previously, the more I give, the more I receive. Voila! Thank you very much again. I hope that you enjoyed yourself, Ailish, because that's the major goal of this.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
maybe we, um, and I hope that you guys who listened enjoyed as well. I will talk to you soon, here or there or somewhere else. Bye for now.